Feeling overwhelmed by book marketing can lead authors to look for shortcuts. Shortcuts lead to expensive complications. Expensive complications lead to dead ends, and dead ends lead to suffering. Yoda would call this the path to the dark side. Does this sound familiar? How do you escape this marketing overwhelm cycle? Well, find out in this episode of Novel Marketing, the longest-running book marketing podcast in the world. I'm Thomas Umstattd Jr., CEO of Author Media, and this is the show for writers who want to make a living writing books worth talking about. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast by clicking follow in the podcast app on your phone or clicking subscribe on YouTube. Now, there are 10 different stressors that can lead to overwhelm, and most authors face at least one of these. And if you are really overwhelmed, you may be facing them all, or quite a few. So let's talk about each stressor and how you can overcome it. The first stressor is the stakes. Some authors feel like the world is ending, and their book is the one thing that can turn things around. Sure, this may be overstated and more likely to affect nonfiction authors, but many of us are writing to fix some wrong in the world. If this is you, realize you are, at best, a small part of the solution. If you feel God has called you to write, realize He is the one who's going to fix the problem, not you. He might use you as part of His solution, but you can't change His plans. If you're overwhelmed by the stakes, here are some things to try. First, turn off the news and write. News outlets have a financial incentive to keep you in a state of panic and keep you watching. Writing will help you feel in control, so spend more time writing and less time watching the news. Turn off your phone and take a walk in nature. You'd be surprised how big of an impact this has. And finally, try getting away from the city, far enough where you can go stargazing. A sense of the enormity of the universe will help you feel small, and it will help your stakes feel small. I'd also recommend reading old books and to meditate on the ancient virtue of humility. But let's say the stakes are not what's stressing you out. What's stressing you out is stressor number 2, the money. So while writing is cheap, publishing and marketing are expensive. Income from writing tends to be lumpy and inconsistent, especially at first. Getting an advance check for $5,000 from your publisher is fun. But for most traditional authors, that's the only money your book will make for the entire year. If you're indie, that $5,000 Kickstarter deposit is fun, but remember, your editor and cover designer all need to get paid, not to mention printing all those special edition hardbacks. So how do you reduce money stress? Well, the first thing is to get a job. This is how most people navigate financial stress. The best kind of job is in the publishing industry, where you can get paid with money and with knowledge. But if you're unemployed, even pizza delivery can help you reduce your financial stress. And delivering pizzas is a great opportunity to listen to podcasts like this one to level up your knowledge. You could get paid to listen to this podcast. Just get a job at your local pizza shop. Another way to reduce your money stress is to reduce your lifestyle to remove debt. Debt is often a symptom of decadence, and decadence leads to stress and overwhelm. Resist decadence by living dramatically below your means. Move into a less expensive house to get different neighbors to compare yourself to. Living below your means builds character and reduces your financial stress. I know you don't want to hear this. It's the same advice your grandmother would give, but it's still good advice. Speaking of advice your grandmother would give, save. Cash in the bank is key to navigating the lumpy income that comes from being a professional author. An author might make all the income for an entire year in a single month, and this means making money now that you don't spend for another 11 months, which means keeping money in the bank, saving money. And something to help you do this is a budget. Create a plan for where your money will go. Authors need both a yearly and monthly budget. And we have a lot of episodes to help you with budgeting. Those are how to publish on a budget your first 5 years as an author, how to launch your book on a budget, and The Starving Author, how to market books when you have no money. And then we have the flip side of that, The Thriving Author, how to market books when you have money to invest. So hopefully those will help you if you're stressed with money. Finally, track your marketing. Knowing where your money is going and what is working and what is not working is key to reducing stress. And we have episodes to help you with this as well. Those are how to track your book promotion, how to use marketing data to sell more books, and how to get good website stats. And we'll have links to all of these episodes in the show notes. I'll be recommending a lot of episodes, and we'll have links to all of them in the blog version of this podcast, which you can find at authormedia.com/424. The next thing that can stress out authors and lead to overwhelm is the marketing vocabulary. I asked on authormedia.social what made marketing overwhelming, and one person said, "So many acronyms. How about a little dictionary of everything and maybe a 1 to 10 list in order of priority?" And I get it. The jargon can make marketing overwhelming as your head starts swimming. And there are a lot of acronyms to keep up with. PPC, SEO, POD, KDP, ARC, ACX, ROI, ISBN, EPUB, GDPR, and that's just to get started. So if you find the vocabulary overwhelming, I have some good news, and that is that listening to podcasts is a great way to increase your vocabulary generally, and listening to publishing podcasts is a great way to increase your vocabulary specifically. And I'm happy to tell you that you're doing that right now. This is a great podcast to listen to increase your vocabulary. And I have an episode on each one of those acronyms I just rattled off. And yes, the blog version of this episode will have a link to each one of those episodes if one of those things was something you didn't know about. The key is to listen to the episodes you don't think you need to listen to. Those are the episodes that will most help your knowledge and your vocabulary. Another thing that you can do is become a patron of Novel Marketing and unlock access to AI Thomas. AI Thomas is a GPT-4 model that I created that's ingested all of the Novel Marketing episodes, and it's really good at giving definitions of words based off of how I have used that word in the past. AI Thomas is for Novel Marketing patrons. It's also available to Obscure No More students. And I should say, Novel Marketing patrons get a patrons-only Q&A episode where they can come on camera and ask me questions live, which can also help with vocabulary. And Obscure No More students have access to the Obscure No More office hours, where again, they can come on camera and ask me questions live. I should say that there is a risk, though, when it comes to learning marketing, which leads to our next stressor, which is stressor number 4, conflicting advice. As one person on authormedia.social said, there's just so many things people say to do. I feel like everyone is trying to pull my limited time in different directions, and I want to know what is most effective and efficient. And this is a really common problem, especially for new authors. And the reason they get overwhelmed is that they're surfing the free content rather than going deep. Instead of picking a single guru and following that person's method, they sample the free stuff from a whole bunch of gurus. This is like wanting to learn how to dance, and so taking the free Introduction to Waltz class at your local dance studio. And then the next day, going to the swing studio and taking the Introduction to Swing class. And then next week, you do Introduction to Tango, and then blues, and then ballet, and then hip hop, and on and on. If you keep doing this, your head will start swimming. Each of these styles of dancing is different, but they're also similar. But they're similar in different ways depending on which method you're comparing or which style of dance you're comparing. Even the music is different, but not totally different. You can swing dance to hip-hop music if you wanted to. So if you feel overwhelmed by conflicting advice, the solution is simple. Pick a single kind of dancing you want to learn, and then pay money for classes and practice that kind of dancing until you're good enough to dance that kind of dance. Then, once you've learned one kind of dancing, you can move on to the next if you want to. And each method you learn will make the next method easier. So for authors, pick a guru and then go past the free stuff. Pay for their courses, their coaching, or their training. For example, I have a course specifically designed to help you learn book marketing. It's called Obscure No More, and it will help you develop a marketing approach that will work for you and your book. It has everything I have to teach on platform building all in one place. If you're feeling obscure, stop surfing from free webinar to free webinar and go deep with Obscure No More. Or go deep with one of the other gurus. There's a lot of people who can teach you. Joanna Penn is really good. Mark Dawson is really good. There are other people who can teach you marketing, but you got to go deep with somebody. But knowing what to do is not enough. You have to put that knowledge into work, which leads us to the next stressor, which is stressor number 5, the work. All of the marketing things that need to be done can feel very overwhelming. What feels overwhelming is feeling like it all needs to happen right now. As one person on authormedia.social said, overwhelming amounts of options, things I'm supposed to be doing, things I could be doing, marketing fads I should get the jump on, who to trust. So what do you do about this? Well, the first thing I would do is create a prioritized plan. It's amazing what a stress reducer a good plan can be. This is a written project list of things you need to do and in what order. The first sessions of Obscure No More are all about helping you identify what thing you need to do next. Once you realize only one thing needs to happen now, the work will get so much less overwhelming as you focus on just that one thing. The next thing to do is to set a sustainable pace. I have a very popular episode called The Tortoise Release Method, Why Slow and Steady Beats Rapid Release. In that episode, I give a plan template for how to pick a sustainable pace for you and your writing, and your publishing, and your marketing. Another thing to do is to stop doing things the hard way. This means learning productivity from other productive authors. I have dozens of episodes on productivity, and a few to get started with are How to Write Faster and Better with Chris Fox, How to Write More Productively with Angela Hunt, and Productivity Tips for Authors with Joanna Penn. Now, sometimes it can be hard to stay motivated while you're doing the work, which leads us to stressor number 6, the deadlines. So most authors fight motivation and procrastination and enervation with deadlines. But deadlines can also become a stressor themselves. So how do you use deadlines without them becoming overwhelming? Well, you get into the details when setting deadlines. Vagueness is what makes deadlines overwhelming. The more clear you are on what, when, and why, the more motivated and less overwhelming the deadline will become. So here are some specific questions you want to answer. 1, how many working days do I have to hit this deadline? Right? So we're not counting weekends and we're not counting holidays. How many words per working day do I need to write to hit the deadline? And 3, are there enough rest days to realistically hit the deadline? And 4, are there enough contingency days built into the plan? Something goes wrong, something always goes wrong, so you want some contingency days so that you can still hit your deadline even when you get sick. The earlier you answer these questions, the less overwhelming everything will be. But if you're still overwhelmed, you may need to go to stage 2, which is pruning. This is where you create a stop doing list. Pruning involves cutting good and profitable activities to dedicate more effort into what is most important. And I have a series of episodes on pruning that I recommend you listen to. The first one is Focus, Pruning and Why Novel Marketing is About to Change. The second one is How to Prevent Writing Burnout. The third one is Trim to Win, Why Saying No is Crucial for Publishing Success. And then finally, When to Quit Writing. These episodes tell a story if you listen to them in order, and yes, we will have links to all of them at authormedia.com/424. Stressor number 7 is publishing decisions. When I asked on authormedia.social what causes overwhelm, one author said, identifying which tasks and pursuits work, which work for me, and which are worth my time, which are worth my money. First-time authors have no idea what they're getting into when they start writing a book. And this is perhaps a good thing, because if they knew how much work went into writing when they started, they may give up before they started writing the book. And this can be particularly acute when someone is writing their first book, publishing their first book, and launching their first book all at the same time. Trying to learn writing, publishing, and marketing all at once is a recipe for overwhelm. Fortunately, there is an easy fix, albeit an unpopular one. You're not going to like it, but it does work. What is that fix? It is to not release your book. The 9th commandment of book marketing states, "Thou shalt not launch thine first book first." Your first book is not something ready to sell to strangers. It's more of a practice run to give you the experience you need to learn how to write and publish a book. So after you write your first book, I recommend that you set it aside and start writing your second book. I also recommend you publish short stories as reader magnets on your website. As Larry Correia says, this is the one industry where you are judged your whole life by the performance of your rookie season. So practice out of the public eye with your reader magnets. Practicing the publishing process with a reader magnet will make things so much less overwhelming when it's time to publish your book for real. For one, the stakes are very low. Few people will see your reader magnet, especially at first, especially before you start promoting it. And everything about your reader magnet can be tweaked and improved over time. There's no permanent record of that reader magnet. Unlike your real book, once a paper version exists, you can never take it off of Amazon because anyone who has a used copy can put the book back on Amazon. To get the most out of this experience, make sure that you get your reader magnet professionally edited, get it a professional book cover, and give it professional typesetting. This is a low-stakes chance to learn how to use Vellum or Atticus. Authors who don't know what these are and are trying to use them for the first time on a full-length book are making life unnecessarily complicated. Practice in the little things. Be faithful in the little things, and the big things will take care of themselves. We have an entire section in Obscure No More walking you through this process of publishing your first reader magnet. But I also have some free episodes on it. They are how to create a reader magnet and how to grow your email list using delicious reader magnets with Tammy Lebrecht. You only get one chance to make a first impression, and a reader magnet is a safe place to get some experience before you go on to the big stage. The other way to help reduce this kind of overwhelm is to practice poorly. So let me explain what I mean. I used to help start speech and debate clubs, and we found that some clubs would grow and flourish while others would keep learning and eventually peter out. The difference between the successful clubs and the unsuccessful clubs came down to one thing, something I'll call time till first speech. The more you learn about giving a good speech, the more overwhelming public speaking becomes if you're not practicing. So our solution was simple. Everyone speaks on their very first day. If you visited one of our speech and debate clubs, you would have had to stand up and introduce yourself to everyone the very first day. With that first speech out of the way, things got easier as students learned and practiced at the same time. The same is true with writing and marketing. You have to put what you learn into practice, or your knowledge will become overwhelming. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing, even if you have to do it poorly. So how do you reconcile your need to start doing now, to start practicing now, with the fact that you're forever judged by your rookie performance? With reader magnets. These really are magic. They allow you to practice your marketing without needing a completed book. Authors who have an edited typeset and professionally designed reader magnet feel much less overwhelmed than the authors trying to learn everything, everywhere, all at once with their first book, especially the first book in a series that will set the rest of their career. Don't do that to yourself. Be faithful in the little things. It really will make things easier. The 8th stressor is unrealistic expectations. Every parent thinks their child is above average, and every author thinks their book is destined to become a runaway bestseller. Making things worse is the fact that most people in publishing make money encouraging your delusional view of your book. The sales pitch is simple. Yes, your book is amazing. Just buy my editing, coaching, marketing, publishing, or whatever it is they're selling, and you will be a star. This is what you want to hear, so you throw your money at this person. Beware the flatterer. especially if he is trying to sell you something. What makes these unrealistic expectations overwhelming is they can lead to a crushing and discouraging sense of failure. It also twists our thinking. We think that because our book is so good, the path will be easy, when in reality, it's walking the difficult road that makes our book good. So how do you avoid setting unrealistic expectations? You set your goals based on your own progress. For example, if you have 10 people on your email list, don't set your goal to have 10,000 email subscribers. That's not a realistic expectation, at least not right now. If your email list has just 10 people on it, I would set the goal to be recruiting a single stranger to join your list. Most authors start with friends and family, and learning how to write and appeal to strangers is a huge step in your career. So instead of trying to find 1,000 strangers, just try to find one. Once you find your first stranger, you'll be well on your way to finding more. You can set a new goal once you accomplish your first goal, one step at a time. But that new goal should be based on your own progress and not your expectations of easy success. Another way to fight unrealistic expectations is to forsake comparison. Stop looking at successful authors who seemingly find success overnight. This doesn't happen, and it didn't happen to them. What you don't see is the years and sometimes decades of hard work that led to that overnight breakthrough moment. When you stand on the shore, it looks like the duck is effortlessly gliding across the water, when what you don't see is the feet below the water paddling like crazy. Comparing your progress to other authors can lead to discouragement and envy. Envy is a sin that will poison your heart and overwhelm your mind. Repent of your wicked envy and pull the plank out of your own eye. Focus on improving your own writing, publishing, and marketing. Keep your eyes on the road ahead, and you will go far. The 9th stressor is distractions. As one author said, many of us are working in the tiny slivers of time left in the day. There are a million distractions keeping you from your book. Believe me, I get it. My wife is about to give birth to our 4th little distraction. So how do you keep life's distractions from becoming overwhelming? Well, here's a few things to try. First, put your phone away. Your phone is your biggest productivity enemy. Most authors spend 3 or more hours on their phone every day. If you can create a better relationship with your phone, you will find your writing life to be a lot less overwhelming. You'll also find that you have more time and more emotional energy to put into your book. I just recorded an episode on how to make your phone less distracting, and it's called Why Your Book is Still Unfinished. Hint, it's your phone's fault. Another thing to do is to create a distraction-free writing environment. I talked with Chris Fox about how to do this in an episode titled How to Write Faster and Better. And this could be as simple as getting a laptop with a good battery so that you can get out of the house. Or it could mean cleaning and organizing your office. But the more you remove visual distractions from your writing environment, the less distracted you will be. Another way to reduce distractions is to practice time boxing. So this is when you take your to-do list and you put it on your calendar. So you decide ahead of time, not just what needs to be done, but also when it needs to be done. Then, when you're working on that one thing, you work only on that one thing. You stop multitasking and you focus on just that one thing. Just take that one next step and your productivity will soar. Knowing that working on my website is an August project that I don't need to worry about right now is an unbelievably relaxing realization, right? You're not deciding not to do it. You're deciding to do it later so you can focus on the thing you're focusing on when you need to focus on it. Another thing to help you with distractions is to develop a disciplined lifestyle. I've been working with authors for over 15 years, which is long enough to see many of them retire from their day jobs. And they hope that this will give them more time to write. But the result, in many cases, has been no additional book production. The author who is writing a book a year while working a day job often continues to publish about a book a year after retiring. In fact, I've seen some authors write fewer books after retiring as they start to travel and start to get more distracted. the exception to this is often with younger, hungrier authors who see quitting their day job not as retiring, but as switching jobs. And for them, this is a scary transition into writing full time. And that fear causes them to be more disciplined. So the solution to fighting distractions is not getting more time. That actually won't help. The solution is to cultivate a disciplined lifestyle. And for more on this, see our episode called How to Use the Ancient Power of Discipline to Accomplish Your Goals. And that brings us to the 10th stressor, and that is entitlement. As one person on authormedia.social said, marketing, ugh, surely Jane Austen didn't have to market. And this is a common view. Authors want marketing to be easy, and they will throw money at anyone who offers to take them down easy street. But there has never been an easy street in writing. So, some perspective. Jane Austen had to write her books with a quill pen, with no spell checker, no whiteout, and every revision meant rewriting the entire page by hand. Could you write a book like that? I couldn't. Not to mention that paper was so expensive that only the aristocracy could afford the paper needed to revise a book into a finished product. The act of writing was so difficult and costly that only the very best authors could stick it out. So, with the writing process so grueling, just existing in the store was often enough to attract readers. Nowadays, on the other hand, we have word processors, spell checkers, and AI editors, and the writing is easier than it's ever been. But because of that, more books are published than ever before, making the marketing harder. So something's always going to be hard. And I see entitlement sneak into authors' hearts in a few ways. One is insisting that they are special for some reason, and the rules don't apply. Or they insist that their book is special, and the rules don't apply. Or they insist that their genre is special and the rules don't apply. This is most common with children's authors or middle grade authors. They're like, oh, the rules don't apply to me because I write for children. No, they still apply to you. The thing is, the rules are what make publishing and marketing less overwhelming. If you follow the 10 commandments of book marketing, it makes marketing easier. Those commandments are there to help you. If you insist that the rules don't apply, suddenly you're lost in the wilderness, not knowing what to do next. So stop looking for the easy road. That's how you get scammed. Respect writing for the profession that it is. Embrace the reality that this job requires work. Then do the work, one thing at a time. If you focus on the next step, you can walk 1,000 miles. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing. So take the next step. If you need help figuring out what the next thing is, I have 3 courses to help you, depending on where you are in the publishing process. If you're just getting started, we have the 5-year plan. This walks you through what you should be focusing on in each quarter of the first 5 years of your author career. We call it a 5-year plan to becoming an overnight success. This course focuses primarily on developing the craft of writing the kind of novels readers will love. The next course is called Publishing A to Z. This course will teach you the publishing process, both the independent process and the traditional process. And this course is great if you're not sure which path you want to take, because it teaches you how to succeed in both paths so you can move forward with knowledge and with confidence. And then finally, there's Obscure No More, which I've mentioned a bunch of times in this episode. This is my biggest, most comprehensive course. It focuses primarily on marketing and on platform building. It also comes with a live Q&A office hours with me every month. And sometimes hearing the answer to your specific question is all you need to get unstuck. And you can find out more about those courses at authormedia.com. Just click on courses. Our featured patron today is Michael Fedor, author of the novel What It Takes to Kill a Bull Moose. Resurrecting the Bull Moose Party of Teddy Roosevelt, Senator Jackson Piper mounts a popular third-party run in order to stop a rigged election. Election Day presents no clear winner, and the arcane contingent election procedure of the Constitution threatens peace in an already fragile nation. Who will win? And more importantly, will the nation survive? Find out in the political thriller, What It Takes to Kill a Bull Moose. Michael Fedor, thank you so much for being a patron of the Novel Marketing Podcast. Thank you for your support that keeps this podcast on the air. I really appreciate it. It is your support and patrons like you that allow me to do this podcast and support my family. Speaking of my family, we're headed out for a family reunion, so I won't be here for the next 2 episodes. We will be back in August, but that is the beginning of what I'm calling the Baby 4 landing zone. So bear with me if the episodes over the next couple months are a bit hit and miss. We have a lot of little ones, and I love you all very much, but I love my children more, and I love my wife more. The Novel Marketing Podcast is a production of authormedia.com. The audio engineering is done by William Umstadt. The blogification is by Shauna Lettler. And you can find the blog version of this episode, including links to all of the other episodes I talked about, at authormedia.com/424. I'm Thomas Umstadt Jr. saying thank you for listening and live long and prosper.